This is the Quiver Podcast.
Hail gonna hail to the alma mater. Hail to De La Salle.
Hello, everyone. This is the Quiver Podcast. Thanks again for listening. I'm Kiko. I'm joined by Gio and Broadchat for today's show.
Woohoo!
Hi, guys, wherever you are in the world.
Hi!
Hello, hello, hello.
Hello. All right. So, thanks for listening. Before we start, make sure to follow the Quiver Podcast on Spotify and other social media platforms. We have great content coming out nearly every day. And for today's episode, it's something very important, something relevant to, well, not exactly a LaSalle topic, but has an effect on LaSalle basketball, men's basketball. IFC, Broadcha, and Gio that recently in the news, UST has been reaching out or has been talks with the San Miguel Corporation to help support their men's basketball program, with the likes of Al Francis coming in to be the figurehead there. And I think it'll be great way to talk about the implications on LaSalle basketball and men's basketball as a whole in the UAAP.
Yeah, oo. At mas exciting yung ngayon, with that development, parang mas nagiging exciting yung mga kalaban.
I think just to add to that also, like it does cause a little bit of issues with us. Like obviously, like as a support site or a support podcast for DLSU. Now we have another team to contend with. Alam mo yun, like now there's a little bit more resources coming in and out. But I'm a little bit more concerned because obviously, like SMC has been supporting DLSU for the longest time and has had multiple teams in the PBA also. Um, we've seen how they've attempted to manage resources in the PBA, and there's always a winner and a loser here. And I'm afraid this might happen to us.
Yeah, it's an interesting point. All right, so now to really get into the meat of the topic, let's invite over our fellow panelists in Quiver, Vic, Lorenzo, and Alfonso, to really discuss the implication of this USD move. So I can turn to you, Vic, first. Vic, do you think coming from the history of LaSalle, having with Danding back in the being our one of our godfathers, really driving the program, and now shifting to UST, what are the implications of this whole move or this movement happening in the UAAP?
Ano naman it's given I think all of the teams in the UAAP now have I think you need you need financial backing to compete para makapag-recruit ka, get better players, to help out yung sistema ng coach mo. But I think for me still at the end of the day, you still need to find players that fit with your coaches' principles and system. Yun pa rin naman yung labanan diyan. It's just not hindi lang siya yung get the best players out there and it gives you the championship. It's not the case pa rin naman. But as mentioned by Gio kanina, syempre maganda siya kasi um yun nga it will elevate the competition Si UST has been in the cellar for ano na ba ilang seasons na ba, dalawa tatlo, correct me if I'm wrong. Yun, so it's sa akin welcome ano siya, development siya for me kasi it will just help sa quality ng liga di ba, lahat malakas, lahat competitive, lahat kumbaga must see TV yung lahat ng matches coming into season 86.
I think that's a good point, Vic, that it's not an automatic recipe to success, right? Having that financial backing. But it does help that you have the resources. It makes an easier path to get the championship, to be have a successful program. UST may get players where I think personally they won't be successful without Boy Sablan being back as coach. So hopefully they make that move for them. um, um, I wanted to ask, we've had a long relationship with San Miguel in terms of our basketball program. How do you look back at the time of San Miguel and LaSalle's partnership with Danding during that era of LaSalle basketball?
I think it started in the 90s. I think that was the era when Boss ECJ, his younger brother, Boss Henry, brought in Ron Jacobs and Coach Jong. And then I think we were able to reach two finals. Then when they came back, their first season, ECJ was back 2012, which was season 75. 74, parang nakinod lang muna siya eh. But 75 was when he started to really take control. We from 75 to 82, that's I think 8 seasons. We won 2 championships, but also missed out on the final four in 78, 81, and 82. So I think backing wise, you cannot question Boss ECJ. Maybe there were other factors that happened behind the scenes that ruined certain parts, and these things reflected throughout the those seasons in 78, 81, and 82. And yeah, in terms of the overall landscape in the UAP, I think you still need to find the proper balance. Yeah, you have a booster who give the money to recruit, the allowances, the extra perks, fine. But then I think there's also a good a good thing to do things in an old school way where you let the school have like three-fourths control or majority control. Like the school will appoint a coach, the school will, manage the day to day, while the boosters will provide the means outside the bench. I think it's always nice that the school will control so that we won't lose our sense of logic, so to speak. Maybe the past few years as LaSalle, we've been trying to bridge the gap to Ateneo and UP, and maybe we were forced to make certain decisions that in hindsight they just did not pan out.
Okay. So yeah, it's a good point. I think there are different models now of how we want to run a program, right? It's the with the MVP group with the Ateneo, with that UP group with the governor and the business personalities behind it. Um, and you're right. It's not an automatic recipe to success. Really depends how the program is managed. It's finding the right balance. Alfonso, San Miguel had two championships in um, Dunding's recent run with the team. Was this below expectation, on par? What did you make of his time um with LaSalle?
I guess it's reasonable to be somewhat disappointed. Uh, at least during the ECJ era in the 2020 2010s. 2012 was actually I want to take it a per season count. Like 2012 was actually an acceptably okay season since it was a rebuilding year. The first season of Jeron Teng, Thomas Torres, the foundations were being made, and plus you knew other recruits were coming in for the succeeding seasons, such as Jason Perkins. Uh, we lost to Aten in the final four, but so be it. It was a rebuilding season, not bad. 2013 went beyond expectations, a championship season. Jeron Teng really took the league on his own. He took that expected leap, but also Arnold Van Opstal, tremendous improvement. Jason Perkins was a revelation. Norbert Torres also improved, and the steady point guard, rotation of L.A. Revilla and Thomas Torres was really great. 2014 was uh, an example of one of those distractions of the court that Lorenzo stated, where that was the naked truth. If you guys recall that we lost to FEU during the Final Four series. The night before, I think it was game one of the Final Four series. We had our star center and our star forward player, Jeron and Van Opsal, went to a fashion show.
Oh yeah,
Uh,
Alfonso, you make a good point. we've all throughout we've had some of the most talented teams in the UAP. Why do you think it did
Yeah.
not translate into to championships?
Well, 2014, I guess it was supposed to be our year, but albeit that distraction
In
and
terms of, I want to look at it as an overall program.
overall,
Overall, yeah, on a year basis. What do you think were those systematic or root problems that made us underperform in those years?
well, one of the biggest problems was Mbala was only eligible for 2 seasons, and he only played. I mean, he only played 2 seasons for us. Like 2015, he was supposed to play, but wasn't there. I guess we had, at least at that time, an embarrassment of riches, but behind the scenes, I guess we couldn't be optimal about it. On the court, you would question if there was a lot of were there distractions off the court? Did we have enough heart on the court? Did our players want it enough? And I guess the third point is we see also a lack of continuity for the players. I mean, it's up to the coaches to line up who he feels will help the team season in, season out. But out of nowhere, players transfer out, players get demoted. Where is, I guess what I'm also looking for is where is that internal development where we can see a player improve consistently from his first year up to his final playing year? Because
Uh,
that's where seniority comes in. At least you can trust players you put in, not necessarily the most talented, but they're seasoned vets by that time.
I think it was continuity that goes translate to the coaches. How many coaches we have during that is SMC era? So it's really and it's something we see in the PBA, but not necessarily we work for college, right?
Yeah, actually, like I would pose a question to the general group. It actually is that one of the biggest criticisms that Coach Franz Pomaren had in his four-peat was that was a team that was built by SMC and he inherited it and brought it to a championship. Do you guys think that that criticism is a little bit unwarranted now because we had all the riches previously and all of a sudden we were never winning, but France made us win or found a way to make us win?
On my end, I think when when it came to Coach Franz, you knew that because of his success, you knew he was the strongest voice in the room. I mean, his authority was really felt, that you knew that he had control of the program. But now, because of the coaches, not at least in Alden Ayon Juno's times, na they had immediate success. They won in the first year, but it was the success after that we are still searching for. Uh, Maintaining at the top is proving to be more difficult than actually getting to the top. So I think with regard, if you compare that to the time of Coach France, you could see that we have to respect his stint even more, given what we're experiencing now. That more different turnover of coaches, but he had the longevity, and his stint had the most success given how long he stayed as well.
All right. So I think that's a good point. How basketball landscape has been changing. Vic, yan, nakilang years tayo sa UAP. we really see it. Giving away our age. What do you make of the change of basketball landscape, and what are do you think the ingredients to success back then, nung time nila France, nung early days ng UAP natin, to now are different given na ito na, it's really a money game. Unfortunately, ba, you really have to spend and invest to make sure your program is a successful one.
I think malaking bagay yung naging it was when the league became highly commercialized because of ABS. Nag-start lang talaga mag-boom when ABS became the broadcast partner ni UAAP. So as sumikat yung liga, yun talagang dun nag-start talaga na as early as 2000s when MVP stepped in for Ateneo, yun na yun. And then it hindi na siya nagbago, 'di ba? From the start parang after ni MVP, parang lahat, oh, we need to get financial backing to match them up. Kasi, excuse me, otherwise we'll not be able to compete. Ano eh, doon yung nag-start eh. Kasi, way back 90s, it wasn't so much like that eh, na kailangan mo ng, ng corporate backing or medyo bigating financier for you to compete. So if you listen to the interviews ng mga players back then in the 90s na scholarship allowance, okay na kami, happy na kami, basta makapag-aral kami ng libre, then makakapaglaro kami ng basketball. It's really true way back na compared now na talaga, you need to have financial muscle to compete. But yun nga, sabi ko nga kanina, having the financial muscle is one aspect eh. Kasi it doesn't drive everything. You still need to hire the correct coach, proper coach. That
Going back to
will
ABS,
that will augment kung ano yung financial muscle na meron ka. That will
going back
help
to
you
ABS,
bring
Vic, di mo ba,
success.
going back to ABS, Vic, di mo ba na-miss sila, Jimmy Javier, sa commentator?
I miss them. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah, diba?
honestly,
Just the foul.
I will preach. Sorry, hindi ko hindi ako
Nabubuking na
mahihila
edad mo.
hindi ako mahihila sa edad ko. Jimmy Javier and Joaquin Trillo for me is still the best
Diba?
commentating duo na napanood ko sa UAAP. They will do
Oh,
2 games, ha? First game, second game, sila lang ang commentator sa Silver Star way back, and very very quality commentary for both gentlemen.
third quarter, tumatama na yung Amats eh. Pag yung second game.
Oo, pati yung banter nila, sobrang nakakaaliw yung banter nilang dalawa, especially if it's an Ateneo Lasal game. Ganda. Pati yung mga I have to say yung mga memorable quotes sa coverage yun. I mean, sila yung nasa top of my mind ko talaga na it still gives me goosebumps. Siguro pinaka-example ko when we finally won the championship in 98 na sinabi ni I think Jimmy Javier na they have buried the stigma of the last 5 years.
Five years.
It still gives me goosebumps until this day pag pinapanood mo siya ulit sa YouTube.
one of
Grabe.
those iconic calls. Gusto ko yung don't give it to Ritual. To Ritual. Nag-coach na siya noon eh.
Yes, yung ano I think that was in 99 eh nung shot ni Dino
Dino Aldeguer. Yeah.
if I recall that correctly, yung play-by-play nila na double team si Renren, pinasa kay Don na nag-fake si Don, kala mo titira si Don, na pati ako sa Cuneta hindi ako huminga nung pumake siya. Kasi sabi ko, huwag mo itira yan. Diba?
Okay. All right.
Very perfect call. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Get back to the topic. Lorenzo. Yes, your thoughts.
For me, it's always nice to have someone with the technical know-how. So going back to UST, I mean, let's see if it will come to fruition, because there were some backtracking comments involved from certain parties. But Al Francis Chua, say what you want, is successful because he really knows basketball. Hindi lang siya player nung college sa UST, pero winning champions coach siya sa PBL tsaka sa PBA. So at that level of basketball know-how, he knows na hindi lang ako maglalabas ng pera, but he knows na this is what we can do, this is what we need, here are some issues, let's address it this way. And for me, you can do things differently or somewhat similar. Like, okay, you get someone like Al Francis Chua to run the show, an operations guy. So this could be operations guy in the technical sense of basketball. This could be, yun nga, a former coach, or, to make it simple, to simplify things, let whoever is the head coach deal with everything technical. Then you get, someone like a team manager to deal with paano yung pagkain, paano yung allowance, and then you have the boosters at the back. So, or, I think this model, I think it's what UP is also doing now with Goldwyn Monteverde as the coach, then Bo Perasol in that manager role, and then you have the boosters, Governor John Vic Remulla, Executive Pato Gregorio. They're watching together at the back. So
Yeah.
I think
I think that's a good point, Lorenzo. Because when you look at the NCAA here in the US, the boosters don't have a say on technical matters, don't have a say on how the program. It's really a program
mm,
director who runs things. I know si Gio and look do devil fan yan, unfortunately, which I think is a thing of the UAAP. What? How do you think? Do you think there is a way we have to change the model of how we run our program? You think that's a root cause of our problems in LaSalle, in USU?
I think it's an issue now because we're not winning per se. So you know, there's only a limit for me, a time limit that we can always blame the coach. Whoever's seated there, whether Coach Juno, Jermaine Bird, Louis Gonzalez, recently Coach Derek Pumarin. There's a time that questions must be asked, but not towards them. And, you know, you look at how other schools are doing it with MVP, with John Vickermulia, maybe certain ideas, certain practices can be adapted. Not that, we're not being grateful and respectful for their support, but, hopefully there will be certain changes down the line that at least with the incumbent head coach now, Coach Topex Robinson, as he said in his first statements that he wants to be a unifier and hopefully everyone, whether school player, future recruits, and now the management, they'll all buy into his vision because, you know, I don't think it's healthy that we keep on replacing coaches. So yeah, let's see. Gio, what do you have?
I think to add to that, there will come a point where the blame will have to stop with someone, right? And that's probably what UST did, right? Like perhaps UST had seen that, wait a minute, everyone around us has a backer in some shape or form, and this backer is helping them be competitive, and that's what they did because perhaps whoever is leading that basketball program of UST just felt that, hey, the buck stops with me. We're not doing well, so I need to do something and slash change something and effectively make positive change. And that's probably what should be the same for the men's basketball program. If you think about our coaches, right? Like Ayo came in and he was a little bit, and he was still young during that time, and I think right now he would do things differently if he came in today versus how he came in back then. Coach Louis, while seasoned, was still from the old coaching staff of Coach Aldin. Coach Jermaine Bird was brought in, and perhaps that's what they were looking for with Coach Coach Derek. But that's for coaches that were not that with very little success. In fact, the most times we missed the Final Four, naka ilang fifth place. Fifth place is the new first place for DLSU, unfortunately, and those that are running it should, in a sense, be held accountable for that.
That's a very good point. I think accountability is one of the biggest questions marks. If given we give the control, the reins over to a certain group of people, who are they accountable with? Can the school come in and say we need to change course? Can the school come in and say we need to put a stop to this? What are those internal dynamics, which of course is very complicated. And of course, it's really shades of gray or shades of green in this matter.
I think very good talking points. But yun nga, as mentioned to you guys offline when we were discussing tong pasok ni Boss Al Francis with UST. Um, Una, I think first point that I raised with you guys was I'm not sure how much budget he Boss Al Francis will have kasi I'm not sure if his sweet, quote-unquote, sweet talk of, meron kaming PBA teams, pwede ka sa amin. Because right now, ang landscape ng college basketball, particularly in the UAAP, hindi lang PBA na ang usapan ngayon. May offers ka abroad. Kumbaga, para sa akin, it won't matter where you play. Kasi for as long as makita ka, you will have the opportunity na pwede kang magkaroon ng offers overseas eh. So that it's not an automatic factor na meron kami pwede kang maglaro sa amin sa PBA. It's not a guarantee. Second, yun nga, I'm not sure how much budget meron si Boss Al Francis when it comes to UST kasi if you remember may article before that came out na I think the board is already questioning Boss RSA's in a heavily involvement with the PBA teams, diba? If you remember that. So I'm not sure if going quote unquote all out to spend for a collegiate team will bide well within the San Miguel group. So that's another thing. So magkano ba ang pondong ilalabas? Will it be the same as the budget with Letran? Question is, sa NCAA, iilan lang doon na may perang teams na gumagastos. It's just San Beda, probably CSB, and who else? Parang wala na, 'di ba? Pwede AYAC with Bong Cuevas coming in with Coach Gerson. But in the UAP, it's a very different landscape na lahat ng teams gumagastos. So hindi ka sigurado kung yung budget mo sa Letran will be enough if you put in the same budget with UST if it will bring you success with the same success that you have recently with Letran na mag-3-peat ka. So there are still underlying questions on that with Boss Al Francis getting involved with UST. Dahil pang tanong yan, ang daming ano dyan eh. So it's good to be hopeful, but always remember na it's not a guarantee for you to win everything in the end.
All right, that's a good point, Vic. Yeah, thank you for that. And yeah, we'll it's not the success in the Chan won't automatically translate to the UAAP, right? So yeah, so let's see what the developments are USDR. Yes, hopefully hindi na maalat yung pagkain ng pakainin sa kanila sa players nila. Number one. So I hope that's number one on their budget sheet. So thank you guys for listening. We'll be staying tuned to more developments in the UAAP land and the entire basketball landscape as we move towards the UAAP. So thank you for listening to the Quiver podcast today. Thank you to the entire team for giving their insights for today's episode. So remember, stay tuned to our social media accounts and our Spotify account for more content on anything LaSalle. And until next time, so Animo LaSalle.
And never shall we fail. Hail to the alma mater. Hail